Welcome back to Season 8 of the Choose UCalgary Podcast. Today we are speaking with Nicole, an international relations student, on her study abroad experience through the University of Calgary Global Learning Program. The Global Learning Program facilitates global learning experiences for UCalgary students through international exchanges, group study programs, and internship and research opportunities. If you'd like to learn more, you can look them up at Global Learning at the University of Calgary. So welcome back to Season 8 of the Choose UCalgary Podcast. I'm just going to have you introduce yourself to us, Nicole. So if you want to tell us a little bit about your program, what year you're in, just any fun facts that you think the listeners would like to know.
My name is Nicole. I am a fourth-year student at the University of Calgary with international relations and focusing on European institutions and governance. Fun fact about me that we're going to be talking about today is that I did a study abroad. That's the main fun fact that I like to talk about. So
Definitely. I think we're just going to go into kind of the process leading up to your study abroad, because lots of students know about kind of, as you're traveling, but there is a little bit of a lead up to it. So where did you hear about the opportunity to complete a study abroad program with us?
So it was actually an open house. So I attended the open house and I saw that there was something about global learning, and I'd always been really curious, especially since I decided that I was going to go into international relations. I thought it would have been really fitting to actually study abroad. So I went to that seminar and just kind of asked a couple of questions, learned a lot more about how the University of Calgary does their study abroad programs, and then pretty much right after that, I kind of decided that 1,000% that this was something that I wanted to do here.
Yeah, that's really cool, especially the fact that it was before your journey as a student here even started, open house, which for anybody listening, our open house is on October 28th, 2023. So that's open for all of our prospective students. So now kind of moving into the process of actually applying. So after you became a student with us, what was the process of applying for and being accepted into the study abroad program?
So applying, that I believe started for me in November 1st, but I was already prepping for that application months beforehand. It was choosing the school that I wanted to go to. I believe in the study abroad program, you have the option of 3 schools that you would like to study at, and then they'll just kind of match you based, at least this is what I remember my counselor telling me, they'll match you based off of the other students that would be wanting to come to the University of Calgary, since it's technically on an exchange. Mm-hmm. So it just kind of depended on which students wanted to come to the University of Calgary and which students from the University of Calgary also wanted to go to their schools. So it was choosing the school first. I believe we had to write a letter, a statement letter, just kind of talking about why we actually wanted to do the program and why we chose that school in particular. There was also some other application things that were required before we applied, but yeah, November 1st was when it started, and I didn't find out until around February, if I remember correctly, of the next year that I was actually accepted into the program. And then from there, it's just the prep before the flight, getting the visas, getting everything together.
Yeah.
Kind of took a while. It took a couple of months, especially for where I went.
Yeah, definitely. And was that November 1st of your first year, your second year?
So I did my study abroad in the third year. So I just wanted to make sure, because not a lot of schools will offer it for second-year students. So I just decided in my second year, I'll apply to do it in my third year. So yeah, second going into third.
Okay, perfect. Nice. And then how did you decide on France as your destination? So there's probably lots of different opportunities. I know that we send students to over 45 different countries. So it's definitely kind of hard to whittle that down. Was there anything in particular that made you choose France?
Yeah, so my degree, it kind of requires a language learning component. So I had to take 4 language courses, and all of those language courses I did in French. So I definitely wanted to prioritize going to a French-speaking country if at all possible. So definitely the first two places that I looked at were France and Belgium. I know that the study abroad program and like the study abroad page has like a program finder, so you can like choose what degree you're in. If you want, like I specifically went to a political science school, so if you wanted something that was specific to your degree, if you wanted in a specific country, and for a specific length of time, since there's like a lot of different ways that you can do like a global experience at the university, it's just kind of narrowing it down that way. But yeah, my degree and kind of the main goals that I wanted to get out of it were the main factors in choosing.
Definitely. Yeah, and then just kind of in that process of getting those visas and booking those flights and all that kind of stuff, how did the study abroad office help you in preparing for your experience?
So they did a couple of like Zoom webinars kind of explaining the process. I went in kind of the transitionary year from COVID to in person.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely there was a lot of like, here are the COVID regulations in each country. They did it region specific, so I got to talk to a lot of the students who were going to Western Europe. So some of that tends to look the same, so they just kind of grouped us all together. But yeah, they helped a lot. They were always really willing to answer my emails. Shout out to Flavian from the study abroad office. He was so helpful with my preparation for it. Like he was just kind of always answering questions, even if it was probably the silliest questions. Just what should I put for this part in the visa? What should I do for this? He was always, they're very, very helpful in that process.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's amazing to have that additional support, especially when like filling out like a visa application for the first time, that kind of stuff. Now kind of moving into during your study abroad experience. So what were some of the core skills that you feel like you developed from your experience studying abroad, and how have you brought that back to the University of Calgary?
So probably the main thing that I learned was time management and like my adaptation like to a new environment. That was something that I guess like I kind of had, but I didn't really actually get to use those skills until I was abroad, because you know you have to adapt to a completely new environment. You have to adapt to a new language if you're not going to an English speaking country. You have to adapt to so many things. So I think kind of enrolling with the punches was like the main thing that I learned over there, and being able to take things in my stride. And then obviously bringing it back here has been so helpful with like day-to-day life, just kind of not worrying too much, because everything's going to kind of solve itself like it normally always does. So that's probably one of like the main things. And my time management also, because I had to be very prepared getting into the program, getting to France, and then coming back. Like there was just always something going on, so I definitely had to be on top of things.
Yeah, definitely. And then how do you feel like your experience in study abroad sets you apart from other students who potentially haven't completed a study abroad experience, specifically when you graduate and you go and look for a professional job?
Yeah, so I would say specifically if you are going there to learn the language, or you might already know the language, it's nice to kind of have that cultural aspect. And like what I mean by that is just that it's always really nice for somebody to see like, oh, they've done this. Like it kind of tells you a lot about a person. It kind of tells you that they're very like, they can manage their time. They put a lot of planning into their things. So that's like one of the main things, at least in my opinion, that I would say kind of would set me apart from other people. Just kind of having like more of like a wide based knowledge of the world, which is something that I don't think I had before I went abroad, and now like I'm back, and having kind of these two cultural points of view has like really changed my view on a lot of things.
Yeah, definitely. And especially being in international relations, having that international element to your degree is really helpful.
For sure.
Now, kind of going into your expectations of study abroad, how do you feel like they differed from the reality of the situation? So was there anything negative or positive where you felt like it was different from how you had seen it in your head?
I definitely thought it was going to be so much harder to make friends. I thought it was going to be so difficult. I thought I was just going to have to be like that weird international student that just kind of walked through their classes. But at least, thankfully, the school that I went to was very interested in involving their international students and doing a lot of international student events. So I got to make a lot of friends that way. In the same regard, I think living in those dorms with like a bunch of other university students from that area definitely helped with like that social aspect, which was something that I really wasn't considering would have been such a positive. And then I guess like if I had to say a negative, it would be the homesickness, but that's something that's just me, because I tend to be somebody who likes to be like right next to her family. So missing them was definitely like the main negative, but that's something that I got used to like after the first month.
Yeah. Kind of being away from that support system, but being surrounded by this whole new environment of really cool opportunities.
Yeah, it's like you lost a support system at home, but you're kind of gaining one over there, and they're probably some friends that I'll have for the rest of my life. So I'm very, very thankful I got to go.
Yeah, definitely.
Mark your calendars. The University of Calgary Open House is set to take place on October 28th, 2023 on our main campus. This is your opportunity to connect with over 40 faculties and services, explore different programs, and learn about UCalgary campus life. Register for this amazing event today.
So, kind of, you may have touched on this already. It might be the same as the kind of like negative there of homesickness. But what was the biggest challenge that you faced during your study abroad?
I would actually have to say the curriculum, but that was just based off of where I was actually studying at. It is very different than how we normally do things here at UCalgary. We normally have multiple, it's kind of a cumulative term, whereas where I was studying, it was one final exam, and that was just kind of it. So you had to study throughout the entire semester just for one exam to kind of make or break your grade. So that was definitely something that I had to get used to, and I'm very glad that I don't have to worry about doing that one now. But definitely, like, curriculum changes can be quite an adjustment.
Definitely, yeah. And then, what were some of your favorite memories from your time in France? Were there any ones from, exploring where you were, or the friends that you made, just anything that kind of stands out?
Probably my favorite memory is I already had like a small group of friends like right around my birthday time. My birthday is this month in October, so at that point I was still really, really homesick. I really missed my friends and I missed my family, and kind of having a birthday abroad with not a lot of people there can be a tough thing to go through, but they actually organized like a surprise birthday party for me. They got me a cake, and they kind of all said that they were like, we noticed that you've been really down recently, so we kind of prepped you something, and we got to go out afterwards, and it was really, really nice. I think that's probably like the moment, like if I had to choose just one to talk about, like it would be that. So I'm very grateful to those friends. So
yeah, definitely making that feel a little bit more at home, feeling celebrated, especially in a new country. So do you feel as though your international experience has helped you have a better understanding of your degree program? So specifically international relations, and how do you feel like that study abroad experience has helped that?
I definitely, for international relations as a degree, I highly recommend, if you are able to at least do a group study, which are like the smaller programs, or you could do a year-long program like I did. It was definitely so helpful in kind of seeing how other students in your degree are learning about things. You're getting courses that you probably wouldn't even be offered here at the University of Calgary. Like, for example, I took a course on the neighborhood policy in the European Union, which I had never seen here. So there's always the opportunity to learn something new, which definitely, that's the main thing. Just I got to learn a lot of stuff that I probably wouldn't have if I didn't do this. Like, they just offer courses that might not even really be considered here.
Yeah, especially having a different cultural outlook, and having those different classes kind of offered to you, it would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, speaking of classes, what was the most interesting class that you took during your study abroad experience?
So that would probably be in my first semester. I took a human rights in global crisis course. So they kind of just talked about, like they kind of defined what a global crisis is and like all of the different types that there were, and then kind of how that may impede on human rights. I got to write an essay at the end, which was super, super like exciting because I kind of got to choose the topic. So definitely, I think that one is a highlight. And I believe that there was also a course on money laundering in the European Union, which was really cool. I don't think I took that one, but I had a lot of friends who did, so I kind of learned through them what the course was about, which I think it was a really interesting course.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool to have like an entirely new bank of courses available to you when you go to a different school. Because even though we offer so many classes, it's sometimes different to like see what other schools are offering. And then now, because this is the Choose UCalgary podcast, so we're talking to a lot of prospective undergraduate students, we're just going to kind of move into advice for future students.
Yeah.
So what would be your biggest piece of advice to future students interested in a study abroad program?
I definitely say plan before, like way before you even think about applying. I think I started planning for it. I had gone to the presentation at the open house, and I had kind of gotten it on my radar, and I was pretty sure I knew that I wanted to do it, but it wasn't until my first year that I actually sat down and started planning everything. Like, is it logistical financially? Is it like, will it be okay for me emotionally being separated from everybody for so long? Like, what are the benefits and what are like the downsides to it? And could I be able to like kind of look past the downsides, like separation from my family? But yeah, I definitely say the main advice is plan before you actually apply. Like, I would probably say like at least 3 months before you actually apply, so you can just get all of that material together, and then
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, always pre-plan. That's the biggest kind of takeaway there.
Yeah.
And then what do you think the benefits of adding a study abroad term to your degree is? So for students, not even in like international relations, but just in any program, what do you feel like some of those general benefits would be?
First of all, I personally think, and a lot of my friends think, that like it looks pretty good on a resume. It kind of shows that, you're well traveled, which is, I guess, something that employers really like to see. It's also just, I think it's just really fun. Like, one of the benefits is just you get to meet people from all around the world in your same degree, and like, who knows, you might be calling them up a couple years down the line. Maybe you got a job where they're living at. So like, there's a lot of opportunities there that you might just not be aware of, and you might not actually intrinsically think of as being like a benefit to adding a study abroad, because I definitely didn't consider like the networking, I guess, portion of it until I actually left and kept in touch with all of my friends from there. But yeah, definitely, I think it should totally be added if at all possible. If it's possible for you, I definitely recommend it.
Yeah. And then last question here, what are some core skills that you feel are needed when entering into the study abroad program? So lots of talk about the skills that you developed from the program, but what do you feel like are some really good skills to have before entering into the program or before starting your application?
So I mentioned that like one of the main skills that I developed there was time management, but I might even think that you might also need it beforehand. It's something that I learned throughout the process of my application and actually being there, but I think my application and like my whole process with my visa and like booking everything just would have benefited a lot more if I already had those skills, and I really didn't. So if you're somebody who can like manage your time really well, because you definitely have to dedicate like a little bit of time, quite a bit of time to it, I would definitely recommend like time management being like one of those skills that you have.
Yeah, it's not one of those like one and done applications. Like you want to really sit with it and really work towards, making a good application.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Because I think based off of the application, they'll either let you know whether you are eligible for the study abroad program or like if at the school that you want to go to. I definitely did a lot of revisions with like my statement letters about with all of the schools that I wanted to go to. I was considering, I believe, Scotland, France, and Belgium. So I kind of had to write separate statement letters for each, explaining why I wanted to study there. And those are kind of reviewed both by the university here in Calgary and then the universities abroad, kind of deciding, like, what are the students that we actually want to apply, like, have join us as international students. Yeah, it's kind of a big, kind of unanimous decision to send you. It's not just like a one and done, quick and easy thing. Like, it's, you want to have the intention behind it. There was about 6 months before I had even heard a decision about what school I was going to or whether I was going to a school at all. So
yeah, definitely. Okay, well, that's all we've got for you today. So thank you for coming on the podcast, Nicole.
Thank you for
I'm
having
sure
me.
future students love hearing about some really cool study abroad experiences. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the 4th episode of Season 8 of the Choose UCalgary podcast. Remember to follow us on Instagram and Facebook to stay up to date on all things UCalgary, and stay tuned for the next episode. DM us if you have any questions.